I'd like to call to order the Monday, June 19th meeting of the Monona City Council. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Moore. Here. Alder Core. Sorry. Here. Alder Holmquist. Here. Alder Spate.
Here.
Alder Wood.
Here.
Alder Kitzler.
Here.
Mayor O'Connor.
Here. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the June 5th, 2017 meeting?
Move to approve.
Second. Any corrections or additions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Are there any appearances? If there are, please fill out one of the slips over there.
Yeah.
I don't think we have any appearances. There is no public hearing. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. There is no unfinished business. Item 2A is starred for immediate approval. Consideration of 2017 temporary Class B fermented malt beverage license application for Reach a Child Incorporated Rockin' Chocolate Marathon, 6501 Watts Road, number 217, Madison, Wisconsin, 53719, put forth by the License Review Committee. Is there a motion to take this out of order?
Move to suspend the rules and take this out of order.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll move approval.
Second.
Alderwood?
This is a new marathon that's going to be starting and ending in Winnequa Park on, I believe it's September 2nd. And they came before the License Review Committee last week and was approved. They have a very experienced operator that they're working with to actually put on the event, and the funds raised. Joan, do you remember
Yes.
the group the funds raised go to?
Reach a Child provides cloth drawstring bags with books for children to first responders to calm and comfort children in stressful events.
Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next is item G2B, convene in closed session under Wisconsin Statute Section 19.851E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. And this is regarding the Yahara Commons Development Agreement. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
There needs to be a roll call.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Kitzler.
Aye.
Alder Moore.
Aye.
Alder Koor.
Aye.
Alder Holmquist.
Aye.
Alder Spate.
Aye.
Alder Wood.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, we are reconvening an open session. Next item is G2C, or G2D, consideration of Resolution 17-6-2190, approving a development agreement for the Yahara Commons development. This is the first read. We won't actually be approving it at this meeting. Does anyone have any questions or comments about this at this time? Okay, then we will move on to item G2E, consideration of Resolution 17-6-2189, authorization of new construction proposed within redevelopment area 9 for Yahara Commons development GDP and Phase 1 PIP. City Planner Reichertz.
Thank you. This item is a first read on authorizing the redevelopment proposed for the Riverfront as consistent with redevelopment area number 9. So this is considering both the general development plan and the precise implementation plan for phase 1. The redevelopment area was created under state statutes that prohibit new construction in redevelopment areas unless authorized by the city council. The purpose of that is to prohibit substantial investment in existing properties that are just going to be torn down, or that might make it difficult for the city to acquire the properties that are intended for redevelopment. Those things are not a concern here because none of these improvements are proposed to existing buildings. The proposed redevelopment is consistent with the city's goals for the redevelopment district. We've had to follow this process for other redevelopments like Summit Credit Union, McDonald's, Pump Station 18 for MMSD. So that's the part of the process that this falls under. As far as background, Plan Commission has reviewed these plans twice in meetings, and approval is scheduled for next Monday on June 26th of both the GDP and Phase 1 PIP. And City Council or CDA will also have to authorize the new construction under the same statutory reference at their meeting on July 12th. The developer is here tonight to provide a brief overview of the master plan and phase 1, and we're also all available for questions. So I'll bring up the general development plan, and either Adam Frendall, the architect, or Steve Doran of Galway Companies can come up and give an overview.
How do I get it to? Let's see if I can. Can everybody see that okay? Okay, thank you, Sonia. So, good evening. Like Sonia said, my name is Steve Dorn. I'm one of the developers of this project, along with Aaron Kostichka of McGann Construction. Our architect is also here tonight, Adam Fredendell, with JLA Architects. Thanks for giving me a minute to come up here and talk about this tonight. It's been a pretty exciting project to work on. A lot of moving parts, lots of curveballs, but it's one that I'm really excited about and excited to be proud of it when it's completed. Want to thank some of the people in this room. There's a lot of people that have put a lot of blood and sweat and tears in this project to even get to where we're at right now. And some of them in here, some of them not, but there's no way that we would even be here tonight if it wasn't for the people, city staff, elected officials, consultants, that have really just put a lot of time into this project to get here. So I want to thank everybody for that also. I don't want to dive too much into the details, but I'll give a quick overview on a couple of the phases that we're developing, why we chose to develop the phases the way that we did, and kind of the timing that we think we're hoping to follow as it relates to all the phases. So this is kind of the overall site map. I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit. For the development. And this kind of gives you a nice bird's eye view of what the project will look like when it's completed. So there's this site right here, which is we're currently where Chase Bank is now. And we picked that site pretty strongly in the beginning because we felt that we needed to really make a statement. We needed to develop that site first, develop a really nice project right on the river with some good ground floor retail and restaurant space so that the rest of the project would be successful and could benefit from the amenities that we brought into the first phase. It would have been way easier to develop phase 2 as just apartments, but we didn't feel that that would be nearly as successful as just a standalone housing project with no amenities. It kind of goes the same for phase 3, which is all office. Again, we felt strongly that we needed to bring the amenities to the development first in order to attract that user for that site. So phase one is a 5-story apartment building with the entire first floor being retail and restaurant space. It's about 96 apartment units with a full deck of underground parking. One of the things a lot of people don't realize about this site is Chase currently sits down in a hole, and we're bringing the whole site up to be at grade with Broadway. So as you're driving along Broadway, you'll be looking directly at all the storefronts on the main floor, the first floor of the retail building. There'll be an entire deck parking structure underneath that those parking stalls will be at the same grade as where the Chase Bank parking lot is. So the plinth on top for the main parking lot will be at the same grade as Broadway, which I think dramatically changes the appeal of the site and the leasability of the retail facing Broadway. On the first floor, like I said, we have about 26,000 square feet of retail restaurant space. We're currently working with a well-known established restaurant in the Madison area, a local guy, to do a 6,000 square foot main level restaurant space with a 3,700 square foot kind of event space on the lower level that would be at the same grade as the park, right on the river. And that space will be primarily used when there are park events and in the summer when there's a tremendous amount of boating traffic. But he does plan on using it the rest of the year for special events and things like that. We plan to move our offices there in a part of it, so there will be some office there. And then we're talking with a couple of different lunch cafe places and a couple of breakfast type coffee shops. One of the things we're very, very particular about in this project is doing it right. And so, we've had the opportunity to do 2 sit-down restaurants, and that's not really the direction that we're wanting to go. Two full-service sit-down restaurants with beer and alcohol, and that's not the direction we want to go. We want to have everybody be successful in here because we feel it will be the best thing for the long term. So I'll flip through the rest of these a little quicker. There's an aerial of the site. I think everybody knows where it is. This shows a little more of the phasing. Like we talked, phase 1 is the apartments and the commercial. Phase 2 is about 140 unit apartment building. We've worked out in the current development agreement. We've worked out that the finish of Metropolitan Lane and the public park get finished when phase 2 is done. We're highly motivated to get phase 2 done because we want desperately for that park to be done. And then phase 3 is built when we have an office user that's ready to lease from the building. It's very challenging to build an office building on spec without a tenant. I think that is basically the same map we just looked at. And I won't bore everybody with the parking details. Try to get to the 3D renderings. There we go. What's that?
The larger 3D images.
Yep. Is that in the separate PDF?
Otherwise, if you want to go to the other PDF.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do that because they're a little bit better. All right. So, like I was explaining earlier, this gives you a pretty good idea of what the project will look like from Broadway. So you can see it's raised up, and all those storefronts are right at the same grade as Broadway. As you come into the site off the new curb cut. Another image showing the restaurant on the end there. This is a view from the center of phase 2 overlooking phase 1 and the city's park. This is a view from the RR River looking at phase 1 and the city park. as well as the lower level restaurant space. There'll be a park shelter, an area that we're leasing to the city in between this project for the long term. And then this is a view from the parking lot where phase 3 is currently. So, like I said, I didn't want to dive too much into the details. I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody might have that I didn't touch on. And like I said, I'm excited to work on this. Out of all the projects I've done, this is by far the one I'm most passionate about. So, thank you.
Alderwood?
Just one question on the restaurants. Did you say you're now looking at one full-service restaurant?
We're focused on one full-service sit-down restaurant that has a full beer and alcohol and
Liquor.
wine license. Yeah, we are also talking to a wine bar. We're talking to another more cafe restaurant, and we're talking to a coffee shop. So it's likely that another restaurant would have a liquor license, but it wouldn't be a 6,000 square foot full-service Waypoint type restaurant. There wouldn't be two of
Right.
those.
Okay.
We've committed to the restaurant that we're working with right now that he would have exclusivity to be the main restaurant.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Thank you. Sonia, did you?
As you could imagine, one of the biggest issues that Plan Commission has been discussing is the parking and relatedly the density of the residential units. One of the bigger changes that happened over time was Building B was reduced in size from 160 units to right now about 137 or 140 units. A lot of these types of issues will be discussed, I'm sure, in a lot of detail next Monday at Plan Commission. And when it gets through Plan Commission and CDA, you'll have the recommendations of both of those bodies before it comes back here to Council for action on July 17th.
Anything else on this one? Okay, thank you. We will move on to item G2F, and this is starred for immediate approval, immediate action. Consideration of Resolution 17-6-2187, approval of a proposal from Strand Associates for Riverfront Environmental Site Investigation Services. And this was approved by the Finance and Personnel Committee earlier this evening. Is there a motion to take this out of order?
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Is there a motion for approval?
Move approval.
The Inland Boat Works site at the riverfront has been identified by the DNR as an open site with petroleum contamination above the enforcement levels that we're required to clean up. This proposal from Strand in front of you is for additional investigation to determine the extent of that contamination and what we need to do to clean it up. And it includes submitting a work plan to the DNR and then eventually requesting a site closure letter. The amount of the contract is just over $43,000. And Finance Director at the Finance and Personnel Committee meeting explained that this is an expected cost within the TIF 9 project plan. And we don't have any increment within that TIF district now to pay for it, but it will be borrowed in the TIF district and paid back when we borrow for this contract and others in August.
Are there any questions? Comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Next item is G2G. This is also started for immediate action. Consideration of Resolution 17-6-2185. Approval of proposal from Strand Associates for engineering and construction administration related services for the relocation of MMSD 60-inch diameter sanitary sewer interceptor. Just one moment. Could one of you ask the guys back there if they could turn the screens on or whatever they need to do? Is there a motion to take this out of order?
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Move approval. Second.
Mr. Stefani?
Thank you, Mayor. You are well aware that there is a large sanitary sewer main that needs to be relocated. This proposal is for design services, bidding, and construction observation and administration for the relocation of that 60-inch sanitary sewer main. The Public Works Committee reviewed the proposal at the June 7th meeting and recommended approval for the Strand Associates proposal for the amount of $125,900. The expense will be allocated to the TID 9. To TID 9. The relocation work is expected to begin September 1st, 2017, so pretty quick. As Sonia mentioned and the finance director mentioned in the finance meeting, that the boring will occur in August. So if there's any questions, be more than happy to answer.
Any questions? Alderwood?
Actually, just a comment. I probably should have said this previous item. I had asked Personnel and Finance about whether we sought proposals from any other firms to do this besides Strand, because both the last item, this item, and the next one are all contracts with Strand, and I think the reason is basically they've been working on this overall project throughout. They're designing Bridge Road. They're already doing the work on the demolition contract, and so it really made a lot of sense to just keep with Strand.
Right.
Any? Alder?
One
Holmquist?
additional piece is they're part of our pre-approved groups
Right.
for work for bids, so
Right.
all
Yep.
those pieces.
They've been, yeah, right. Good point.
Anyone else? And this, again, was, this and the next two items were all approved at Finance and Personnel this evening. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderwood,
Aye.
Alder Kitzler,
Aye.
Alder Moore,
Aye.
Alder Court,
Aye.
Alder Holmquist,
Aye.
Alder Spade,
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
On to item G2H, consideration of Resolution 17-6-2186, approval of proposal from Strand Associates for engineering and construction administration related services for Riverfront Development Phase 1 infrastructure, put forth by the Public Works Committee. This is also started for immediate action.
Move to take this item out of order.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Is there a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Second.
Mr. Stefani.
Thank you, Mayor. The Public Works Committee also reviewed this and recommended approval at the June 7th meeting. Proposal by Strand Associates in the amount of $205,200. It is for the engineering, bidding services, and construction administration and observation for all the Phase 1 infrastructure, which includes streets, curb and gutter, street lights, sidewalks, and all phases of the utilities for water, sanitary sewer, and stormwater. Expenses will be allocated to TID 9, and the design is expected to be completed by December 1st, 2017. Bid opening in January of 2018 and start of construction in spring of 2018.
Any questions? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Spade,
Aye.
Alder Wood,
Aye.
Alder Kitzler,
Aye.
Alder Moore,
Aye.
Alder Court,
Aye.
Alder Holmquist,
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And next item is G2I, consideration of Resolution 17-6-2184, authorizing the submission of a Dane County Build Grant application and certifying an intent to provide local funding match. This is put forward by the Community Development Authority. Is there a motion to take this out of order for immediate action?
Move to take this item out of order.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Is there a motion to?
Move approval.
Second.
Okay.
As part of the Riverfront project, there is a park component, and this grant is applying for Dane County funds to help with the planning and engineering design of the park and related amenities. And it's a 50-50 matching grant. And the program is very much geared towards infill development and supporting neighborhoods. So this whole project is very much aligned with Dane County's goals. So this would be just to submit the application for the program, and that is due July 14th.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item, and this is under new business, item G2J, consideration of ordinance 6-17-688, amending Title 15, Chapter 2 of the City of Monona Code of Ordinances regarding erosion and stormwater runoff control, put forth by the Public Works Committee. Mr. Brune will speak to this.
Good evening. So, the ordinance, as many of you might know, needs to be updated to be as strict or stringent as Dane County's ordinance. And Dane County just recently updated their stormwater and erosion control ordinance based on new studies out of the, I believe it was the NRCS, National Resource Conservation System, I believe. Sorry, 1 second. No, USDA, I'm sorry. The USDA updated their stormwater average rainfall events for the Midwest, and therefore we had to update ours as Dane County approved those updates. So that's simply what part of this is. The other part of it is also that up to this point, we hold stormwater maintenance agreements with large commercial properties. These agreements basically hold those properties accountable for keeping maintenance up on their stormwater features like inlets, catch basins, bioretention basins, etc. These agreements up to this point had not had any oversight, so there has not been any regulatory oversight on any of these properties for several years. It's just it's much too cumbersome for staff to be able to continually, annually do this for the city, and it was on the city in terms of responsibility for all of this oversight. So many other communities around here, including Madison, Middleton, Fitchburg, which you should have this sheet in your packet, they have the responsibility set on the actual property owner to do this, to make sure that they have maintenance logs, that they are continually doing these inspections, etc. Some of them do it annually, require it annually. Some of them do it every other year. So what we have here is that we would require now that the responsibility be set on the property owner, that they have to have a certified engineer perform these inspections for the first 2 years, starting at the point where we approve this, if you do approve it, and then every other year on even numbered years after that. The inspection report deadline would be due on August 1st to the Public Works Director, and at that point we would review it at the city level and approve it, and then we would log it with the property file. So all of these inspections would actually be logged with the property file itself. So we'd have that dating back to now, essentially. So.
Any questions, Alder Spade?
I believe we approved this at Public Works.
Yes, sorry. It was
So,
approved at Public Works.
I see no reason why we might not consider taking this item out of order, and I'll make a motion to do so.
Is there a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move approval.
Any further questions, Alderwood?
I just mainly some stylistic questions, I guess, in proposed 5-2-4 3A, the definitions. There's a rainfall, we're just defining average annual rainfall, and then there's a reference to something, a rainfall file with a name that doesn't mean anything to me. It might mean, I think, perhaps there needs to be a note or something to identify what that is. And also do we usually put links to websites in our ordinances? I don't think that's probably a good practice. that information could be provided somewhere else, but not in the ordinance, because the website could easily change. Let's see.
I'm sorry, Alderwood, where were you?
Yeah, I couldn't. Yeah.
Page 2,
The
3.
definition is 3A, sort of. It's the actual ordinance language.
Oh, the average annual, it's on page 90.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, right, yes.
Oh, got it.
So I guess, what is WIS Reg dash Madison WI 1981, capital R, capital A, capital N?
It is basic jargon for where you need to find it in terms of our rainfall regulations. So average annual rainfall is for the engineers to use for their SLAM modeling and TR 55 models and runoff rate control models. So there's logs of rainfall events, and this is how they log it. That's their system of recording it.
Brad, I think I would just take that whole sentence out. You can always refer to it, like you said, on a website or something.
We can't take the whole sentence out, because that's the
You have to write
This-
it.
definition.
This file is available from the USG.
Oh, you mean the last
Yeah.
sentence?
Oh, that,
What
yeah.
was,
Okay.
yeah, was gone. Just where to find the file is what I'm talking about.
Okay.
And then it's going to be generally known to people what the other stuff, the WIS Reg dash Madison, et cetera, means?
I would believe so, yeah.
Because they have to hire professional help to put this
Yep.
together, essentially.
Yep.
Okay. Hire professional help to read the ordinance.
Yep.
Um,
That's why they need it.
And I assume then also going on to page 91, 29A, the NRCS, et cetera, is similarly terms of art that people who do this stuff will know what it means.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay. I didn't think we were going to be voting on this tonight, so I didn't look at it all that closely until right now. Let's see. I don't see anything else.
Okay. Anyone else? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Final item is consideration of Resolution 17-6-2188, affirming support of the Paris Agreement. And this is put forward by myself and Alder Spate. I think I emailed all of you a couple of weeks ago when the climate mayors first were organized, which actually Alder Kitzler had informed me of, and added Monona's name to this statement that we still supported the provisions of the Paris Agreement. I felt that was kind of a no-brainer, considering Monona's support for sustainability and everything. And as part of that, they sent us a packet of materials, which included a resolution, and a lot of cities in the United States are passing resolutions supporting, stating their support of the Paris Agreement. So I had Mr. Brune work through it and took the basic agreement that they sent and revised it so it fit Monona, and that's what's in your packets tonight.
I would move to suspend the rules and take this out of order.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Is there
I move approval.
Second.
any comments or questions?
Just to thank you for moving it forward.
Well, you're welcome. Alderwood, did you
Yeah.
have?
Well, the same sentiment too. And also, I think I shared with everyone that I'd gone to the League of Municipalities, Municipal Attorneys Institute last week, and one of the sessions I attended was on solar energy usage, and they had some good ideas in there about sort of, we've done a great solar project, and that was one of the things they actually talked about, but there's some other things, shared solar buys and so forth, that I think are worth pursuing. So they fit obviously within this.
Yeah, I think we obviously need to continue our focus on sustainability efforts in the city and working towards that 25 by 25 goal. And I want to thank Alder Kitzler for drawing it to my attention to start with. So, Alder Spade?
I'm tempted to say this is a no-brainer, but actually I think it's a brainer. So,
We already had the
no-brainers
no-brainer.
in the White House. So that's why we have to do these things. And it's sad, but I think that this is a community that expects us to step up. So.
Okay. Anyone else? Alder Holmquist?
So I've been open that I struggle with resolutions such as this.
I know.
I support this resolution in the sense of it identifies some key items that we actually have control over and are in our sandbox, and only reference a larger context. I'm afraid that if we go down the path of any time there is disagreement between other actions outside of our sandbox, that we could be here quite frequently making resolutions of what we agree or don't agree with outside of our control. But I support many of the items that go into this, don't get me wrong. I just encourage us to stay focused on what it is that we can do in addition to what we can say, which is a balance. So.
And I would agree with you. I know that in the past we've had some discussions about things like this, and the main reason I decided to put this forth is because it does tie in so well with things that we've been working on for years. So, Alder Spade?
The other thing I just wanted to add, and it's why I lent my name to this, is that the Paris Accord is actually a voluntary agreement by nations that essentially says we make a commitment to do these things, and it left the decision as how you were going to solve these problems up to each autonomous government. And so to the extent that we as a government can embrace that and act on it, I think it's consistent with the spirit of the Accord. So, you know, the federal government can kind of say whatever it wants to say, but I think, you know, we as a community and as taxpayers and as the representatives of the taxpayers have already taken a lot of steps to try to see to it that we're a part of the solution. And so, given that the Accord itself speaks to that, that's why I was willing to, because I agree with the sentiment you're sharing. I don't wish to make a statement on everything that we find objectionable coming out of Washington.
We'd be here all day.
Yes.
Anyone else? Okay, all in favor of approving the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We are on to reports of committees, commissions, boards, mayor, city administrator, city attorney, and department managers. Alder Moore. Alder Kitzler.
Do you mind if I make some other comments not related to my committees?
Sure.
Depends on what they are.
Well,
Yeah, depending on what they are, I guess, yeah.
in the chance of being too repetitive, I want to bring the dark store loophole thing. I don't know how many people read the Herald Independent, but they had an article about Walmart trying to reduce their tax assessment. So for those of you that read it, I apologize in advance. But for the millions watching and for the people outside of Dane County, the call to action would be to call your representative and support the dark store loophole amendment. So in Monona, Walmart's assessed value is over $28 million, and they are trying to get it below $10 million, about 9.5, which would reduce their taxes. It would reduce their taxes by over $433,000. And what that would do in hard taxes to local residents and average commercial property The average commercial property would increase their taxes by $600, and then the average homeowner would increase by $124. So I wanted to be repetitive tonight because I asked our finance director to provide those numbers, and those are based on last year's tax rates and taxes. But, these are dollars that matter to residents and small businesses, and these big box stores continually winning these lawsuits will continue to fight this battle in court and get their tax assessments reduced. So please, I know Jimmy Anderson, our representative, and Mark Miller are supportive. Mark Miller has been the only one of the two that have signed on to the legislation, so I would encourage people around the table to also contact Representative Anderson to sign on. But it's important, and I want to make sure we push this forward, and it has some strong lobbyists against it, and I think so there's fear of it not passing. But other than that, I have no reports.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Alderwood.
One, I guess, just to follow up on that, and again, referencing the Municipal Attorney Institute, I attended one of the sessions covered the dark store issue, and the attorney who did the presentation, while saying that the legislation was a good thing, he also thought it might run into problems of a constitutional challenge on uniformity grounds, and that he believes that there's sound legal strategy to fight the dark store assessment theory in court, and that is, in his view at least, what is likely going to be required at some point and unfortunately that's going to fall largely on one community that decides to take on the fight. But his belief, it seemed pretty valid, was that there's a good argument, sound legal argument to be made that the whole dark store notion doesn't fall within the accepted parameters, basically, of how property should be assessed. I mean, on its face, it does seem ludicrous, so that's usually a good start to your story when you're in court. The other side's argument is ludicrous. Other than that, license review met last week. Nothing really to report from that. So Landmarks meets this week. I think we've got rounded up a quorum. So that's all I've got.
Alder Spade.
I'll just report that Transit will be meeting on Wednesday. We're 1 week delayed in meeting, and while we continue to market our services, I just want to report that our ridership continues to increase at a somewhat alarming pace. Our summer ridership is off the charts. We are starting to have that problem where there aren't enough seats for the people that are riding the bus. So it's kind of a good problem to have, I guess, but we may have to start talking about whether or not it's worth adding another bus to our services here as we continue.
Those PSAs that you've done.
I guess so. I didn't know WVMO had such a broad reach.
That's great. Anything else?
Nope, that's all.
Alder Holmquist.
Plan commission next Monday. So that'll be the biggest item. And then public safety, I was trying to look, I believe it's a few weeks out, 2 weeks out.
Alder Kerr.
The Community Media Committee pushed off their meeting for June and will be meeting in July.
Okay. City Clerk Andrews.
We're starting to work on the postcards that were mailed to voters who have not voted within the last 4 years. This is called a 4-year maintenance, even though it's done every 2 years. Anyone who has not voted in the last 4 years receives a postcard from the Wisconsin Elections Commission, and then Aline and I need to follow up on whatever response we get, whether they're returned by the post office or the voter signs it saying they would like their registration to continue, or any non-responses. So that's going to be a big project because that will be then lead to our purge of all the records. So we'll be working on that all summer.
All right. City Administrator Little.
Our city council tour of our city facilities is tomorrow at 3:30. Meet in City Hall lobby, and the public is welcome. I posted a notice and gave it to you. It kind of shows the order that will be going in case somebody wants to catch up with us. I will be at the WCMA conference Wednesday through Friday this week, and the mural dedication that we had last Saturday was incredible. The Herald Independent website has some amazing photos, and he just gave me a CD of some photos as well. So thanks to everyone who came for that.
I just had a couple of things. We do not have a meeting. We will hopefully still not meeting on July 3rd, but we are going to be trying to schedule a special meeting probably early next week. Robin Farrow of Tresta is in the process of renegotiating their loan. Is that correct? And they need city council approval of that. So I'm hoping to have one of those like 10-minute meetings, and we'll be sending out a doodle poll Monday or Tuesday, I think, hopefully if that works for people. So please be looking for that and respond to that. And I'm hoping to get it maybe 5 or 5:30 so it doesn't shoot your whole evening.
Monday, Tuesday, which week?
This coming week, next week.
Okay.
So, okay.
Well, same as planned.
Oh, right. Well, that's why we'd get it at like 5
Oh,
o'clock or
right.
something. But, you know, maybe we'll probably shoot more for Tuesday anyway if we could. But in terms of other things, I guess the main other thing is the 4th of July festival is coming up in 2 weeks. So appreciate everybody getting out for that. And other than the special meeting, our next meeting will be July 17th, where we will be scheduled to approve the development agreement. So,
Mayor
Alder
O'Connor,
Kitzler?
I noticed in our department updates, National Night Out was mentioned. Is there a date set for that yet that anyone knows about?
There is.
I know
Is
it's
it
in August, but there was no date in the packet. And the purpose of me asking is I think maybe we should have a table there or something would be worthwhile.
That's a thought.
Or some sort of
Yeah, that's a good
presence,
idea.
I think would be.
I know there's a date. Do you know when it is?
don't know what that date is.
But
I
anyway,
think it might be the 25th, but don't hold me to it here.
August 25th?
I'm not even going to write it down.
I wouldn't.
Well, let's check on that if you
Yeah.
would, April, and keep that in mind. I think that's a good idea to have a city council table. So I think that's all the reports. There are no appointments. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? See you all tomorrow for the tour.